extreme interest. This is not going away here.
No, it is not going away. If the Trump administration and Donald Trump in particular believe that they can wish this story away, the American public have a different tune to sing. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look at Google searches for Epstein. In fact, in the month of February, it is higher than it's ever been. Up like a rocket, up 900% versus a month ago. And the top name associated with Googling for Epstein, well, it is Donald Trump. So the story isn't not going away. It's actually getting searched more and more and more, becoming more relevant in the minds of the American public.
It's so interesting. This is, more than it was when Congress voted to force to release them, more than it was when they actually released some of them, more than it was when they released more of them. Now it's the most it's ever been.
The most it has ever been, and the previous highs were also very high.
All right, let's talk about what this means for President Trump. How do people view his handling of the whole issue?
Yeah, this is bad political news for President Trump. Yesterday we spoke about the fact that Donald Trump's overall approval rating, his net approval rating, was at a record low for term number 2. What is the worst issue for Donald Trump of any of the major issues? Look at this. We got them all up on the screen. Immigration, foreign policy, the economy, trade and tariffs, and then all the way down at the bottom is the Epstein case. Look, he's underwater on immigration, foreign policy, the economy, and tariffs, all between minus 16 and minus 25 points. The Epstein case, though, is on another planet. Look at this. Negative 39 points. He's 39 points underwater. Basically a split between 30% approve and 70% disapprove. The Epstein case is not the story the Trump administration and Trump in particular and Republicans at large want in the news, because it is a big political loser for him, and these numbers have remained very consistent. No matter which poll you look at, he's about 40 points underwater in the Epstein case, by far his worst issue, and he's not actually good on the rest of mine.
Yeah, from a political standpoint, ABE, anything but Epstein,
yeah,
really, for President Trump there. How about among Republicans?
Okay, so if the Epstein case is something that absolutely is terrible in the minds of the center of the electorate, among independents, in fact, the number is closer to minus 50 on the net approval. If it's absolutely terrible among the center of the electorate, among Republicans, look at this. GOP who approve of Trump, immigration, the economy, foreign policy, trade and tariffs, all of them basically between 77 and 85. But look at the Epstein case. Just 55% of Republicans approve of Trump on the Epstein case. It is something that divides Republicans, and it is something that the overall electorate really doesn't like.
I mean, they love him on almost everything else, but Epstein, not so much.
Not so much, and that's the reason why Thomas Massie's attacks really seem to have an impact.
Former First Lady and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is accusing the White House of a continuing cover-up. At issue is the handling of the release of the Epstein files. Here's what she told the BBC while speaking at the Munich Security Conference.
I think everybody should testify who is asked to testify. I just want it to be fair. I want everybody treated the same way. That's not true for my husband and me, because other witnesses were asked to testify. They gave written statements under oath. We offered that. They want to pull us. Why do they want to pull us into this? To divert attention from President Trump. This is not complicated.
CNN's Annie Grayer joins us now with her latest reporting. So what else did Clinton have to say?
This is a really interesting interview, Boris, because it's the most extensive comments we've heard from Hillary Clinton on her views on all this. And of course, she doesn't mince words when it comes to her views on how the Department of Justice is handling this, accusing them of a cover-up. But she's also very critical of the Republicans on Capitol Hill, accusing them of singling her and her husband, former President Bill Clinton, out here, saying that others in this investigation who were subpoenaed were able to provide written statements under oath, which they did. But the Republicans on Capitol Hill insisted that the two of them appear for in-person depositions, and she's arguing that's not necessary. Now, she was asked explicitly about the photos that we've seen from one of the Department of Justice releases of the former president in what appears to be a hot tub with a woman whose face is redacted that the Department of Justice says could be a potential one of Epstein's victims. And she was asked if she knew any context around this photo. Take a listen to her answer there.
And it wasn't a hot tub on a plane. It was one of the stops they made to look at philanthropic and charitable work that my husband has done, saving literally millions of lives around the world. It turned out that was done long before there was any public awareness and certainly any conviction of any crime by Jeffrey Epstein. If Bill and I had a penny for every person we've taken pictures with, we would be extremely rich today.
Now, also in this interview, Hillary was asked directly twice if she had any regrets about her or her husband's interactions with Epstein. And she said, I've never met Epstein, and she had only limited interactions with Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former girlfriend and co-conspirator, and said that her husband's interactions with Epstein are well documented and that neither of them had any knowledge of their crimes. So a lot to unpack from this interview.
Now, both her and the former president are set to appear for closed-door depositions in the House's Epstein probe later this year. She's pushing for those to be made public. What's the likelihood that that happens?
So we got some new insights from her comments in this interview as well, where she says that she will show up for her deposition, but she would prefer it to be an open hearing. Now, saying she's going to show up, I think, is all Republicans on the Hill are looking for. They've said, we want to do this deposition first. Maybe we could do an open hearing in the future. They haven't ruled that out, but it seems like all signs are pointing toward these depositions being on for the end of this month. Both Hillary and Bill Clinton are expected to appear separately February 26th and 27th.
All eyes will be on those depositions. Annie Greer, thanks so much for the reporting.
There is more fallout from the Epstein files because there's so many of them. Reporters continue to go through them. And this latest news is that billionaire Tom Pritzker says he is retiring as executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels after his association with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein came to light. He released a statement that said in part that he deeply regrets his ties to Epstein and co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, and that he exercised terrible judgment in maintaining contact with them. CNN has also learned that 6 companies linked to Sarah Ferguson, the ex-wife of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, are to be shut down. Ferguson is listed as the sole director of the companies. It's not clear exactly what services those companies provided, though.
Well, the mayor of Los Angeles says the head of the LA Olympics should step down because of information about him revealed in the Epstein files. Karen Bass says Casey Wasserman's flirtatious emails with Ghislaine Maxwell are causing a distraction for the 2028 LA Games. Other people are also feeling the impact of being named in the Epstein files. Billionaire Thomas Pritzker has stepped down as executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels. He said he never should have remained friends with Epstein after Epstein was convicted of sex crimes. And Hillary Clinton is accusing the Trump administration of hiding information in the Epstein files. The former U.S. Secretary of State tells the BBC that the redactions and slow release of Epstein's emails are part of a cover-up. Hillary and her husband, former President Bill Clinton, are due to testify to Congress about their connections to Epstein later this month. She says Republicans are treating the Clintons unfairly and trying to distract from President Trump's ties to Epstein. Have a listen.
I think everybody should testify who is asked to testify. I just want it to be fair. I want everybody treated the same way. That's not true for my husband and me, because other witnesses were asked to testify. They gave written statements under oath. We offered that. They want to pull us. Why do they want to pull us into this? To divert attention from President Trump. This is not complicated.